Thank you all so much for coming out to join us for our first quarterly update for the 2026 year. As I look out, I recognize many of the faces. You all are what I consider to be, most of you, the salt and the pillars of the earth, and also the pillars of our communities. So let me say thank you for joining. This evening, we look forward to giving you an incredible update. So I did not want to be slow in starting because every minute this evening will be well spent. This evening, you will hear a report directly from all of the individuals that we have listed here. We will have our Chief Operating Officer, Zachary Williams, our first Chief Development Officer, Jacob Vallo, our first Chief Housing Officer, Dr. Alan Ferguson. We'll also hear from Chris Kingsbury, who is our Program Manager. Particularly to localize it, he handles SPLOST, our Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, that has resulted in much of the work, particularly the road resurfacing, as well as building of some of our fire stations across the county. We also have Director Peggy Allen, who is in charge of Public Works, Roads, and Drainage. And we also have our newest team member, Mr. Eugene McKinnie, who is our Director of Sanitation for DeKalb County. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Well, I didn't expect to see this. I'm just going to give you a brief overview because I want everyone to realize this evening that I may serve as your Chief Executive Officer, but with 34 different divisions, there are a lot of people who are responsible for the work that you experience each and every day. And those are the people that I want you to hear from. When we talk about that amazing and incredible marketing and media team, our communications department, last year we generated over 450 press releases and had over 1 million newsletter views. This is a record not only for DeKalb County, but we are actually outworking and outpacing other counties in the metro area. We came in #1 for press releases and communications. And for me, communicating is the director of first impressions. Also this year, for those of you like Mr. Benny, who I'm sure frequently visits the county website, you may know that DeKalb County now looks different. When I came into office, we had a website with over 14,000 broken links. We now have a fully functional website, and it is very user-friendly. We have streamlined and mastered our ability to handle most every transaction that's necessary in DeKalb County through our website. So I want to thank the communications team for literally working around the clock for a year to transfer over the content, update the content, and make our website reflect who we are and who we are becoming. Also, I'll touch on Entrenchment Creek Park. Many of you know Entrenchment Creek Park. Over the years, there has been a lot to say there. A land exchange occurred around 2020, and the people of the community had been promised a park that reflected the community. And I'm very happy to say that we are moving forward in DeKalb County. We will begin phase 1, which is 85 acres. Actually, the work has already begun, and we will have the park open to the community Labor Day weekend. We are building out a hard trail. Yes, let's clap. Because this evening, there's so much to talk about, we couldn't put it all into one presentation. But I believe next week we're hosting a separate town hall for community members so that we can share all of the plans. You can see them up close and personal. We've already had one workshop that was online. And then phase 2, which is known as the Michelle Obama Park, will begin. And there we're going in with a lot of modern upgrades that are befitting of the community. Next, in DeKalb County, you may be aware that we are leading in what I call corporate consciousness and providing as close to a living wage as humanly possible. So it seemed to be big news when we took minimum wage from $17 an hour to $19 in DeKalb. And let me say, many people in this room may not realize, I believe minimum wage is only around $7.26. And that is not realistically, 25. I think there's a correction in the audience. $5.15. And that is, it's not realistic. In America, we are now creating the working poor. So across DeKalb County, we'll continue to trim the fat, and we will continue to invest in our employees and in our communities. Next, fire rescue. We did not include on tonight's panel, but now our fire rescue are the highest paid firefighters in Metro Atlanta, because DeKalb County will not be a fertile training ground for firefighters and public safety officials who immediately leave and go to other jurisdictions for higher pay. We have right-sized, yes. And I'm going to go back because in terms of police officer recruitment, when I came into office for 4 years, over a 4-year period, we had lost 385 police officers. We were at a critical level because in many instances, we had officers who should have backup going into very dangerous situations. But I'm happy to say that police recruitment in DeKalb County is up over 300%, and we have a 98% retention rate. And I hope that you are beginning to see the presence of more officers in your community. It's very hard to engage in community policing when you are struggling to clear your board from emergency calls. So we are seeing improvements there with response times. And let's see where we're headed. Okay, tire dumping. We threw this one in because South DeKalb, District 3 in particular, has the highest incidence of tire dumping. These people have become so brazen that they will dump tires in front of a fully operational business in the middle of night. I'm very happy to say that we now have a tire dumping task force, also because we have invested heavily in both drone technology as well as video surveillance technology at our major intersections. We have brought 10 repeat and habitual offenders, some of our most egregious tire dumpers, to justice. And it takes the community. It truly takes the community. So if you see something, say something. Also, we have 19 days until international soccer takes over DeKalb County. And we're very excited. The city of Atlanta and, of course, Martha Ravello, who works out of my office, as well as our Chief Fulham and Chief Pedrick, have worked very closely with the other metro police jurisdictions so that we can ensure public safety during this time. We look forward to having an incredible event, and we expect it to be safe. Now, what you'll hear this evening, a lot of the actions we're taking is a direct result of the Malden-Jenkins report. Upon taking office, I requested the funding necessary to actually study 18 of our consumer-facing departments. So some of our most critical departments were actually interviewed. It resulted in a 407-page document with 266 actionable items, with 40% of those being at a critical state. So across DeKalb, we're right-sizing and working with our departments to give them the technology that they need. We're making sure that everyone has a written job description, you understand your duties, and you are performing them. And this sort of gives you a breakdown of what was involved in that report. 171 interviews, 38 workshops, 13 job shadowing sessions, 22 facility tours, and 1,700 documents. So we are moving with purpose, and this is the last thing that I'll show you because we're very excited about this. Because I've always been taught you can't fix what you can't measure. And in many departments, as we try to master and provide better services, we needed to know where you are. So after completing the Mauldin-Jenkins report, we then hired a director of change and management who was responsible for implementing what was found in the report. And we decided to create across DeKalb County forward-facing dashboards like what you see here for our service level departments. And each dashboard is unique, but with 34 divisions, I have to see it on a snapshot. So for instance, here in terms of how many licenses are issued, how many are awaiting payment, how many are pending review, and how many are awaiting resubmittal. This is planning and sustainability. And you have a total of 18 different departments that feed into one. So this is what you often don't see. And this is what many people may not understand. But there's a lot of layers for us to create efficiency across DeKalb. And at this time, I see we have our Chief Operating Officer, so I'll pass along the clicker and take my seat.
Good afternoon. Yes, and I'm definitely honored to have an opportunity to share some of our successes with you. And under the leadership of CEO Lorraine Cochran-Johnson, I think we're doing an outstanding job. And now more than ever, it's important for everyone who's taken their time to be here. It's important to stay engaged, stay involved, and stay informed. So what I'll do is kind of talk through some of the successes that we're having in our various departments and really touch on a number of the things that are still works in progress. When the CEO referenced the Mauldin and Jenkins report, it helped to provide a roadmap in many ways for us to find issues that we need to address, and we have gotten about the business of addressing those. In the area of planning and sustainability, we've received a $200,000 grant for Candler Road Livable Communities Initiative. And what that's going to do is it's designed to help to upgrade, uplift, and enhance Candler Road. And so there will be citizen charrettes coordinated through the planning department to help with that. We received $800,000 in grants from Safe Streets and Roads. And what this does is it helps us focus on safety infrastructure across all modes of transportation, including pedestrian, vehicular, and disability accessibility. Planning will implement a new software that will better enable people to apply for and receive permits. And this is anticipated completion in fall of 2027. That, and I see some heads shaking, yeah, you're right. That has been a challenge for us for years, but we have identified a company, we've identified software, and we anticipate a notice to proceed being issued in the next couple of weeks, and we will design and implement a new system. Planning is also working on modernizing county codes to address issues like short-term rental properties and data centers. So those are the things that are being worked on by our Planning and Sustainability Department. In the area of recreation, parks, and cultural affairs, major capital improvements projects have been initiated. As the CEO articulated, we've launched construction on Phase 1 of Entrenchment Creek Park, and that will be opened in around Labor Day. Began renovations at Embark, which is essentially our farm, county-owned farm on 124. Completed renovations to Cedar Park in Scottdale. Completed renovations at NH Scott Pool, and successfully completed CAPRA reaccreditation literally just a week ago. So our Parks Department has now successfully been accredited twice, and those are the only 2 times in the history of our Parks and Recreation Department.
And I also want to add, because NH Scott Park, some of you may be NH Scott community members that are present, but I remember coming into office in 2019, and that park being a conversation for 5 years. And I want to say that we are in the process, we're in a period of completion across DeKalb County. And that is also made possible by the fact that we now have DeKalb County's first team of project managers So when projects are brought online, they are transferred and assigned to a project manager, and they are responsible for seeing them through the pipeline. So I'm very proud of the amount of output that we have going on with our departments across the county.
Yes. And a perfect segue to those, the project managers and the work that they're doing is the work that's happening in facilities management. And we've listed just a few, but very important investments that the county is making in some of its physical assets. The first is phase 1 of jail renovation. As you know, we operate a very sizable facility. The sheriff department operates it, but the county owns it. It's an asset of all of ours. And we have began with an implementation of $5 million investment to enhance the security at the facility. And we are moving forward with another $5 million that should be approved by the board in the coming weeks. DeKalb County Health Centers. Throughout the county, there's a number of health facilities that have, quite frankly, been long neglected. We have not put the money behind them that we should have. But thanks to each of you, thanks to the voters, we, in the SPLOST program, approved $13.5 million to invest in those facilities.
And let me also add there, that is very important because we are at this moment, until we are able to adequately provide capital improvements to what we own, I'm not in the spirit of acquisition. Because in many communities, we've seen buildings that have been in need of repair and honestly have not had the general maintenance that's needed. And those buildings become depreciating assets. And that depreciation has consequences. So we are working hard to ensure that we are taking care of what we own before we seek to acquire even more.
Absolutely, and that philosophy of pay now or pay more later, we're paying now. Additionally, in our libraries, we're looking across the library system and anticipating an investment of approximately $9 million, SPLOST dollars again, that will be used on upgrading libraries and addressing issues throughout our system, north, south, east, and west. We've recently completed the facility condition assessment for 115 county-owned facilities. And this will help us determine which facilities we need to invest in, which facilities may require consolidation, and the best use of space, and quite frankly, which facilities we may have grown past, and it's time to get them off of our inventory. All of that will be part of how we move forward after the facility condition assessment. In the area of human resources, some things that we're very proud of, and recognizing that our employees are our most valuable assets. As the CEO articulated earlier, we approved a sweeping package of salary increases and benefits for fire rescue personnel. Now they are the highest paid in the region. We've implemented the new minimum wage, going from $17.68 an hour to $19 an hour. And we are in the middle, towards the end, of a countywide pay and class study. And what that will do is it will recognize where we need to adjust pay ranges for employees to ensure that we're paying a quality, or we're paying the right price, but we're expecting quality work. Again, fire rescue, I'll just touch on one of the key things that are worth noting is the investment in the ambulance delivery system, $15 million that we've implemented, or we've allocated to the ambulance contract. And the success of that contract has resulted in reducing response time by 2 minutes and 38 seconds. So over the past approximately a year, the improvements that have been made, the investment that the CEO and board have allocated, have turned into direct results and better response time, ultimately saving lives. In the area of 911 communications, a couple of key things that are worth noting. Our 911 department has been recognized as a triple accredited center of excellence, only one of 33 emergency communications systems in the world to have achieved that. They have, that's definitely. and they've been acknowledged for their in the disciplines of fire, police, and medical. Also, alongside Atlanta and Emory, our 911 center received Georgia Team of the Year, in large part due to their effective response in the tragic incident that claimed the life of Officer David Rose. So it's, again, my honor to be able to share some of our successes with you. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Assistant Chief Hughes.
And before Chief Hughes speaks, I want to add on the E911 that we have invested, I believe, and you're the money man, $8 million in upgrading the E911 system. And what does that mean? It means that it gives our dispatchers, our call center, the ability to loop in our officers so everyone is communicating in real time when there is an incident. And also, let me say that when DeKalb County has major incidents that occur, and in particular, we've noticed this during street takeovers, our phone system will become backed up with callers. And no one should call 911 and be placed on hold. But with this new technology, and I can't wait to see it in action, it should be able geographically to tell where the calls are coming from so that there is an announcement to the caller that if you're calling about this particular incident, it's been reported, so people will not continue holding the line. So I do want to explain that because we're keenly aware. Yes, we're aware of the issues, and we're working through solutions because it's natural instinct to call. But during certain periods when there are high call volumes that are abnormal, it has affected response times, and we're addressing that. Okay?
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Assistant Chief Tony Hughes. I am sitting in the absence of Chief Gregory Pedrick, who sends his regards tonight. I just wanted to share a couple of highlights from the DeKalb County Police Department standpoint. We've had some great successes as well. So current to date, our crime numbers are down double digits in both categories. Our crimes against persons as well as our property crimes.
And notice, on the property crime side, we're down 25%. That's a lot. And I want to say that oftentimes in the media, you see the most extreme and the most egregious crimes. And honestly, this year we have had a lot of domestic violence issues that have played out and honestly, unfortunately, resulted in death. But we are very happy to see that property crimes are going down. And for communities, if you are facing issues, reach out to us. We're more than happy to send out our team, meet with HOAs, assess the community. We need to make sure we're well lit. Nowadays, it's very unfortunate to say, but you can't live in communities without cameras and the ability to provide real-time surveillance of your home. Now, it's unfortunate but necessary. And also, after you install those systems, you should also register with DeKalb County Connects so that we know where our video cameras are in the event that there is an incident. We can immediately seek footage from your neighbors because it helps us be more efficient in bringing people to justice if a crime is committed, and it helps us help you because we get the calls from frustrated community members over people that are driving too fast through the community or whatever the issue may be. But we need you to help us. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I'll be quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And to touch on what Madam CEO mentioned, which I'll get into later, our real-time crime center ties into that. Well, we'll touch on that a little bit later. But yeah, so that's a great accomplishment to have double-digit decreases in those areas. And a lot of that is due to increased staffing. As mentioned earlier, and I believe that number is incorrect, we actually have a 98% retention rate currently, And we've seen an increase of 9% of our sworn officers. That gives us the opportunity to put more officers on the road. A lot of crime is deterred merely by officer presence. And that's due largely in part to the new compensation package that Madam CEO has put together for our police department. We are among the top paid police officers in the Southeast right now as a result of Madam CEO's initiative. And what that has done, that has attracted officers. We're seeing officers from other departments coming over to work for our department. We're seeing officers return to our department. So, and that's largely due to the compensation packages that officers are now seeing. So, on to our real-time crime center. This is an amazing accomplishment that we were able to achieve with the partnership of Madam CEO and the police department. We have, in December 15th, 2025, we opened our real-time crime center. This is a joint effort between DeKalb PD and Madam CEO. And what this has allowed us to do, as she previously mentioned, to tie into cameras throughout the county to be able to see things taking place in real time. Our flock camera network allows us to also tie into some of the DOT cameras, cameras at gas stations and other locations where officers can now take a look at what's taking place. And if that suspect leaves that location, these flock cameras are able to capture each intersection where there's a camera where this suspect is traveling to. That has been a huge tool in helping us to solve a lot of our crimes. Madam CEO, did you want to add anything else to the Real-Time Crime Center?
No, I will just say that we continue to see the results of the effort, and also with the development of the Real-Time Crime Center and also rolling out a drone first responder program. Everyone here, we face a lot of challenges, including traffic congestion. So when an officer receives a call, it can be difficult to get there depending on where the location is and particularly the hour of day and level of traffic. So we have been intentional in strategically placing drones and technology so that it's my intent that when we receive a call, I would like to have us to a point where we're never more than 3 minutes away. And using crime statistics like our high crime zones, we know where those areas are. We know where our troubled intersections are. We are seeing these decreases because if you commit a crime now in DeKalb County, we're on you quickly. And I'm very excited, yes, that we have motivated officers who find it exciting that they have the technology. Because literally, if you've never been to our real-time crime center, if there is an issue, we can immediately hone in and we can see what's happening. And that's what's needed. That's what modern day policing and that's what public safety looks like. Not necessarily filling the street with officers because many people are shifting in careers, but making sure that we're able to perform and we're able to handle situations quickly because we have access, and that also provides us with evidence when it's time to prosecute you and hold you accountable.
And I'm going to quickly kind of go through this. Many of you probably have experience on the weekends or have seen a lot of these street racing incidents or these meetups where they're taking over intersections and so forth. Well, we have launched a street takeover initiative where we have been attacking a lot of these incidents through our intelligence and maybe get ahead of it, and with the use of our cameras been able to kind of capture what's taking place. And I like to add, or mention rather, as a result of our task force, we've had over 200 citations, over 41 arrests, and we've impounded over 11 vehicles. So we are making an impact on those street racers.
And I also have to add there that, as a result of wanting to do what we can, because to be honest, it's time we send a message to people. We have began what we call random public safety checks. So at any given time, I remember back during the time when ICE was out, we had a whole lot of frantic calls. ICE is out here. No, this is DeKalb County PD. And as a result of our random public safety checks, where we check your registration and so forth, we have taken countless individuals who were fugitives from justice into law. We've taken them straight on over to, I see the sheriff's office here, to the sheriff's office, because oftentimes they will do a U-turn, and we are already at points to stop you. And we've also confiscated numerous weapons as well as contraband. And this is unfortunate, but I want people to have the fear of bringing it to DeKalb County. And I need you all to stand with me as we do this, because we are seeing results. We cannot continue to allow people to be lawless in our communities, because no one is safe. Crime will show up at your front door, and we're not having it. So that's the reputation I want us to develop across DeKalb County.
Amen. And lastly, I'd like to mention DeKalb County has entered into what's called our public safety partnerships, which has allowed us to join with our federal partners in addressing a lot of the issues that we see in our county. And as a result of that, we will now have close contact with agencies like the ATF, the FBI, the Secret Service, and other federal agencies, which is just another layer of enforcement that we will have at our disposal now, which is already yielding results, just as a result of some of the initiatives that have been put in place as a result of that. And at that point, I will pass the mic to Jacob.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good to be with you all this evening. I'm going to go off script for 1 second and just thank Madam CEO for her vision and leadership and courage, and Chief Hughes and COO Williams, because to do development and to get more investment in DeKalb County requires much better public safety. And Director Fulham, who's here, phenomenal job all these individuals are doing, and it makes it so much easier to attract capital and do into the county. And so just want to thank everybody for that. And as you can imagine, when you try to bring prospects into the county and you can share statistics of crime going down and share statistics, a KPI showing that to get a business license or to do business in the county is getting better, it makes an enormous difference. I've got a lot of slides. There's a lot going on the development side. I'm going to run through them quickly. But as many of you know, there's a lot of friendly faces in the crowd. You know, we're focused on, South DeKalb Mall, transit-oriented development at the Kensington and Indian Creek MARTA stations, trail and park-oriented development with our new director, Chris Bass. If you haven't met him, he's been fantastic to work with. We are working on moving the MARTA transit projects forward. I'll touch on that a little bit. The public land development at 4380 Memorial is progressing. I'll talk a little bit about that, as well as corridor revitalization, solar development, and some financing tools we're working on. So first on South DeKalb Mall, we continue to work with a purchaser that's interested in the mall, that has a vision that's consistent with what we've heard from the community and with CEO. Is a very complex puzzle. Just rest assured we are working on it. I love puzzles. We're going to figure out how to do that. Thank you, sir. Next slide, the Kensington MARTA station. We have entered into discussions with MARTA around a ground lease between the Housing Authority of DeKalb County and MARTA. This is similar to the Kensington Point transaction that was done across the street, so on the south side of Kensington Road. So just if I had a pointer, it would basically be the two E blocks there, P2 and D and G4. And so we're excited about progressing with that development to kick off the transit-oriented development at Kensington MARTA Station. Next slide is Indian Creek MARTA Station. The area that is circling, both of these master plans were done in conjunction between MARTA and DeKalb County, and I forget the exact years, but they've been adopted into the comprehensive plan, and so we're just following through with the execution now at this point. So the two areas outlined in blue are also, we started conversations with MARTA to ground lease those. The Housing Authority of DeKalb County would ground lease those, and that would kick off the transit-oriented development at Indian Creek. This is a huge vision. There's a 25-mile trail beginning at, if you can see in the top left-hand corner of the Atlanta Beltline Connector Trail. We have engaged with ABI on building that connector trail and having the Path Foundation work with Director Patrice Keeter and Transportation on delivering that connector trail. And so we're in the planning and pre-development stage. The Donzi mark there, this is another trail that actually Chris and I have been working on with Patrice Keeter, and Parks has been involved as well. This is another trail that would be funded by SPLOST that would then connect down to the Entrenchment Creek Park area, which Madam CEO mentioned. We just broke ground on that. And would come down to Constitution Lakes, but also the trail, the 25-mile trail, would go all the way over to the monastery if you wanted to go into Rockdale County, or you can go up to Arabia Mountain. So we're working on various segments there. Of course, Georgia State University is right in the middle there. The South River Greenway Master Plan was submitted to the Atlanta Regional Commission last year. We submitted for funding to do the master plan. The master plan will include community and redevelopment opportunities as well as anti-displacement measures. But we really love the idea of just having this piece of infrastructure that can be all connected throughout these portions of the county. So next slide. This is a lot of text. I'm going to blow through this, but there's a lot going on with MARTA. The Candler Road Arterial Rapid Transit, or ART project, as well as the Beaufort Highway ART projects are both moving forward. There's currently a selection of a designer to take it from 30% design to 100% design. And so we're looking at I provided more transparency that I probably should have in these slides, but I wanted everyone to just get an idea of how much detail is involved here. So we're looking at anticipated groundbreaking in 2028 for both Candler as well as Beaufort Highway. The South DeKalb Transit Hub is moving towards 100% CDs. Of course, we're staying coordinated with the potential purchaser of the mall to ensure that's integrated in the overall design. Next slide. Many of you might have participated in the charrettes that MARTA has conducted since 2023 and 2024 and 2025 on the South DeKalb Transit Initiative. So the last two, or the final two alternatives that are being studied by MARTA, you'll see here the blue line is actually Covington Highway, the orange line is running down I-20, both connecting to the Stonecrest Transit Hub. The right-of-way on the Stonecrest Transit Hub is being worked on, and obviously these projects they'll work together with one another to make sure that it's a successful and intentional project. Finally, the Clifton, actually two more, Clifton Road BRT, working through continued design and right-of-way. MARTA is working through continued design and right-of-way with an anticipated groundbreaking of 29. There are some funding challenges, but we're working through those as well. And then the next slide is I-285 top end. And so this is a very complex project. GDOT is leading this effort, but ARC and MARTA several years ago put together a partnership to advance design. They're at 15% right now, with another $6.7 million of the $14 million obligated for the design. This is an AI-generated rendering. We were trying to just come up with the 4380 Memorial sort of concept, removing the tax commissioner's office, replacing it with a building that is mostly front-facing services to the citizens of DeKalb, adding a park, and then mixed-income housing around. So don't hold me to this, but this is give you a sense for kind of what we're working on there. We're working on the intergovernmental agreement with the Housing Authority to partner on that project. Hopefully it'll come to the board here shortly. The Candler Road, Candler Crossing project, groundbreaking is June, I think, 14, CEO. So we're super excited about this Publix anchored project. And I am over time, but we're working on multiple corridor revitalization efforts, everything from the Walgreens at Rays Road, and we're meeting with the community here. We've already got survey data from what the community wants, so we'll continue to work with brokers to try to bring uses that the community wants there. Solar development, first solar project to be on top 178, 180 Sam Street. and as well as a canopy. So this is our first solar project in the county. We'll continue to roll it out through the next couple of years on various buildings. This does save the county money and also has the added benefit of being a renewable power source. Finally, we've leaned into the diversity that is in DeKalb County and are looking for ways to bring more capital sources, foreign capital sources, into the development projects we have in various corridors. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Ferguson, and sorry for stealing time.
And let me say, Jacob moved so quickly that there was no time to butt in. But I do want to say, as it relates to sustainability, he zipped through those panels, the solar panels, but I am very proud to announce that as of next week, we will introduce to DeKalb County our first Chief of Sustainability and our first Energy Manager. Both of these positions will literally pay for themselves. There is no such thing as solid waste. Trash is cash. And DeKalb is now moving towards utilizing trash to begin generating revenue. We are also bringing online, there are so many things that we are in the process of completing at this moment, including our CNG plant will be coming back online. And all of these things will help us save money. So I'm very excited about bringing those individuals on board. We're very excited about rolling out systemic composting. And again, I have to thank Dr. Diamond Lewis and her team, because we will also be releasing over the course of the next 3 weeks or so a series of videos that include teaching. We've learned that we have to educate our constituents on how to be more sustainable. So we will teach you how to recycle by watching those videos. And just a very exciting time. So we will be rolling out an entire catalog. And with that, I'll pass it on over to you, Dr. Ferguson.
Thank you, Madam CEO. And good evening, everyone. So, good evening. So when we last visited in, I believe, January of this year, we talked about our themes for 2026, which was opening up more housing access, more housing choice, and building, stronger communities. And we've been working steadfast under the leadership of Madam CEO Lorraine Cochran-Johnson to try to fulfill that promise. So you may recall, a lot of you, were in the room when we talked about, bringing NACA and partnering with NACA to really open up housing opportunities here within DeKalb County. So we held 2 Achieve the Dream events, since the beginning of this year, one in January and one in March. Those events attracted over 7,000 people coming through over those 2 weekends. And I'm happy to say that there have been 900 mortgage approvals that have come out of people visiting that weekend. And that's just the start. Absolutely. As time goes on and those who participated and they complete the program, that number is going to increase. And we're looking forward to bringing NACA back to DeKalb County again for some additional events. However, the challenge with housing still persists, and I won't belabor this particular slide because I think everyone is familiar with these issues, by now. If you're not experiencing them, then you have family members, you have friends, you have neighbors, you have coworkers who are. Rising home prices, increasing rent, which limits the amount of disposable income, which limits the amount of, funds that you can save. For those looking for home ownership, having the down payment remains the largest, financial barrier. And then workforce households are struggling, to enter the market with the rising home prices. It's becoming more and more difficult, to attain that dream of home ownership. And when you delay home ownership, you reduce, a household's, a family's, opportunity for economic mobility, because in our current society, it still remains that home ownership is still the primary vehicle where most households generate their wealth. And then they pass that generational wealth on to their heirs. And so you miss that opportunity, that wealth building opportunity, if you don't really open up more avenues for people to become homeowners. So, you know, my wife always tells me, you know, Alan, you keep talking about the problems. You know, what are you trying to do, you know, to try to fix them? Well, the good news is that we are making strides to try to address these problems. So, or challenges rather. So one of the things that we're doing, and I'm very, very excited about this, is we're launching a down payment assistance program, a new program for DeKalb County we call DeKalb Home Start, where we're looking to remove the financial barriers, really support first-time home buyers, and by increasing home ownership, you know, as a way to, you know, strengthen our neighborhoods. So, you know, this particular program is going to be based, income eligibility based. It's actually 2 tiers, and so there's a little bit of, you know, correction that needs to be made on the slide. For households that earn up to 100% of median income, and so for a household of 4, that's up to a household income of $117,800, which is the area median income for the Metro Atlanta area. They can be eligible to receive up to $20,000 in down payment assistance. And for for up to 100% of AMI. And then for households that earn up to 120% of AMI, they're still eligible for down payment assistance, and that income number goes up to $137,000 for a household of 4, and they can get $15,000 in down payment assistance. And these particular programs, where you've typically seen them launched in other areas, they're prescribed for certain lenders. And we're not doing this in this particular program. We're leaving it open for our home buyers and prospective home buyers to select their own lender. But we are going to stress test, you know, for the types of loans that you get, because obviously we don't want people to end up in a predatory lending situation. And then when it comes to our DeKalb County employees, we're also launching a special initiative. You heard Madam CEO speak about really the investments that she's making in the people who really work and serve DeKalb County each and every day. So we're launching an employee assistant home ownership program where we're going to provide, you know, for income eligible employees, a retention incentive of $5,000 towards their towards home ownership. And we're doing that because if we feel they're good enough and they're strong enough to work for DeKalb County, we want them to live and enjoy the fruits of their labor in DeKalb County. So we're really, really excited about providing that opportunity to our staff as well. So it's not just about, you know, creating new homeowners, but it's also about keeping the homes that we have in place, especially for some of our most vulnerable residents. And so it's, you know, probably no secret to everyone in this room, you know, DeKalb County has a lot of aging housing stock. You know, as your house ages, it becomes, you know, increasingly more costly, you know, to maintain those homes. And so repair costs can cause an inordinate burden upon homeowners, and this could, you know, lead to displacement or people, you know, having to, you know, leave their homes under circumstances that are not of their choice. And so we're launching a homeowner preservation program, an owner-occupied rehab program we call DeKalb Brighter Home. And so under this particular program, again, it's targeted you know, towards income eligibility, and there are preferences in terms of, you know, preferences for seniors, for veterans, for disabled head of households, and for those who are lower income. But we're providing up to $30,000 in home repair services to those eligible homeowners. And it can also be paired with our existing program, which is being run out of our community development department, the special purpose home repair program, which provides up to $14,000. So if you're eligible for both programs, you could get up to $44,000 for critical home repairs to keep you in your home, to allow you to age in place, and to preserve the value in your home for yourself and, you know, for your heirs. So we're very, very excited about bringing that opportunity to keep homeowners in place.
And if I might chime in, for business owners that are present, as we seek to attract industry, what we see matters. And across DeKalb County, when I talk about delayed maintenance and capital improvements on our 115 buildings, we see the same that is happening across certain corridors in DeKalb, where there has been a lack of investment by homeowners, business owners. So I want to say that we are exploring options that will help our business owners with the upgrade to their facades, because it's very difficult to recruit businesses into the community when you have corridors that lack the investment that should have been made. So I want to also say, because we do not have code compliance here, hopefully if you live in DeKalb, you are seeing a cleaner DeKalb emerge, because we are now holding business owners accountable. You will maintain your property. We're requiring that you adhere to, there should be no more. And I urge each one of you to go out and be a part of this solution with me. Because we had found when we put out street teams, many had never been told that more than a third of your window cannot be covered with solicitation and signage. If you have a sign that says clearly you're a liquor store, I don't need to see a bottle or a can in every window to know that. Literally, we have businesses that are blight. And honestly, I say this, we could pass an ordinance, as far as I care, that takes down every sign that's in the window so we look cleaner. And with your encouragement, that's what I'm going to go and do. I'm going to present it to the Board of Commissioners, because we know what's there. So you know, we're working really hard. And also, it was brought to my attention that I do not want to be disrespectful, because I serve at the discretion of the people and also alongside our DeKalb County Board of Commissioners. And I understand that there are commissioners that are present here today. If you are a DeKalb County Commissioner, please stand. Okay, we are joined this afternoon by Commissioner Nicole Messiah from District 3, and that's exactly where we are at this moment. Thank you for joining us. Okay, and okay, so we'll get that piece of legislation moving. And again, you know, oftentimes when you sit and you're having these conversations, you just think of what more can I do? What more can I do? So never, you know, be afraid to speak out and share your ideas and thoughts, because we all see the same community. And Dr. Ferguson, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Madam CEO. So moving on, because I want to be respectful for the other panelists and not taking away too much of their time. I also want to mention that we're really making an investment in building housing capacity here in DeKalb County. So what does that mean? It means we want to invest, you know, in our local stakeholders and our local residents that want to help us help, you know, their neighbors solve this problem around challenges, you know, with housing. And so it really involves, you know, providing, you know, technical assistance and training, you know, access to pre-development funding and other types of support, partnerships and mentorships to help them advance, you know, their development and their housing goals. And so, you know, with that, we have several initiatives that we're launching under that particular framework. We have what we call our DeKalb Land to Legacy initiative, and that's targeted towards our faith-based institutions. So many, since coming into this position, so many, you know, churches and mosques and other houses of worship have approached us saying, you know, we have land, we have property, and we want to develop, but we need help and we need support in trying to make that happen. And so we're launching a cohort program where we can take them through the process, provide that technical assistance and support, but also pair them with mentors, other organizations that have been there, done that, so they can learn from their experience, as well as potential partners. But the key part of this is that we understand that just access and education alone doesn't make things happen. And so that's why we're providing the pre-development grant funding to help turn their concepts into a reality, to get real feasible projects moving within our community. So we're really, really excited about that. And then we're also launching another education cohort program that we call Inside DeKalb. And Inside is an acronym for Neighborhood Scale Incremental Development Education. And so what that means is we've got a lot of residents and individuals who own property. In fact, I was just with one of our residents yesterday morning who was telling me how they own their home, but they also own the 2 lots next to them. And so they're sitting on all of this land, all of this property, and they don't know what to do. That's the kind of individual we're going to take through this type of education cohort that has property. They want to do something with it, but they don't know how to get started. And so again, providing them that support system and network, along with some incentive in terms of some grant funding, so they can bring those vacant lots and other property that they own into fruition to help us with this housing challenge. And then I definitely should mention, and you'll hear some more information coming out in the near future, around the work that we're doing with the DeKalb the DeKalb Regional Land Bank Authority, where we're building up their capacity so that they can actually put out more of the county-owned public land that's currently sitting on the county books to activated use. A lot of those properties were formerly single-family homes, and they fell, to the county for a variety of different reasons, whether it's, because of delinquent taxes or they were blighted properties and were demolished. Well, we're going to put those properties back to active use. Absolutely. And we're going to work with our land bank authority to do that and get that accomplished. So I've gone through a lot of information really briefly in these slides, but I do want to mention that we held 4 information sessions on the programs that I just mentioned that we're getting ready to launch. Our implementation partner is DeKalb Development Authority, and if you go to their YouTube channel, you can see the YouTube videos of those information sessions. So we're really, really excited about what lies ahead for DeKalb County. We're also making really, really strong strides in terms of providing services and support to the homelessness community. But I'm out of time, and I want to turn it over to the good director, McKinnie, to talk about the latest and greatest in sanitation.
And before we move to sanitation, I want to acknowledge at this time First Baptist Gresham, Pastor Norman Thomas, and First Lady Rhonda Thomas. And also I'd like to acknowledge New Birth Baptist Church with Pastor Jamal Bryant and First Lady Dr. Carrie Bryant Turner, because both of those churches are moving forward with projects as a result of our focused initiative on bringing our spirit and faith leaders to the table to help us in development of housing. So for those of you who may be a member of a church that has capacity, because oftentimes many of our faith-based institutions are some of the best because they have the capital and they simply need to know how to help the community, then we are more than happy to do a personal presentation. We will continue ongoing presentations. And also, Dr. Diamond Lewis and Deanna, I think it's very important that we create a special edition newsletter that shares the DeKalb Housing Information Series so that everyone here can watch those videos and understand the conversations that often you don't hear that's taking place with the community, so that you can share them and you can learn from them, because the community is our partner in getting things done. And now I'll turn it over to Director McKinnie.
Good evening, everyone. And sanitation, we are so serious about reintroducing ourselves to you. We're so serious that we're going to be doing a rebranding of the name Sanitation. So more to come. More to come. I'm very new to the team, several months here, a few months rather, but I'm a 35-year veteran of the industry. So I've been around the block a few times, and some things I want to share with you are some things we're doing internally to strengthen our team, to bring them from the back to the front, and then some things that we're doing to support the county's environmental and sustainability initiatives. So from a rebranding, as I just mentioned, that name, eventually, real soon, watch for the press release, will be something new. But it has to be imagined and captured on what we actually do every day. Madam CEO mentioned it about waste management. That was period correct, but we do so many things with the resources that we recover now. So that resource recovery, hint, hint, has to be in there somewhere, right? We want to, as rebranding, we're improving the public awareness and understanding of the service we provide. It's more than just a truck coming by, picking up a can. We provide a good service, or we don't. You call in, someone comes out, someone may not. We want to make sure that what you're getting is what you're paying for and more. We're doing a reorganization right now. We're not aligned for progression or succession. We want to create a vertical org chart and reporting structure so employees will have something to look forward to. We want to support our employees by way of recruitment and development. I skipped past retention. Retention is the biggest piece because you can hire and you can recruit, but what do you do to keep them? This is more than every other Friday paycheck. What else can we give them to make them feel emboldened and embodied into a team and part of the family? And we want to let you all know, as it relates to our sustainability efforts, what recycling really means. If you're a long-time recyclers, there were 7 different products that you could put out at one point. There's only 2 waste stream products now. So we want to, as Madam CEO mentioned, we want to educate you on what those products look like as we go forward. So Samsara, Routeware, these are apparatuses that we have on the trucks. These are some technologies, smart city technologies, to help us better deliver that service to you. So prior to some of these things, we were so redundant in running routes. You run through one route to get to another route. You see so many trucks running up and down your streets. Well, what these apparatuses do now, these programs, well, they will specifically line out routes and create carving boundaries and give equal house counts for each route. So it's not my route's bigger, you're overworking me, plus you don't have that constant erosion of your roads and so many trucks up and down the streets daily. Our sanitation services, our road card inventory. So we recently ran into a blunder. There was just no accountability on making and ensuring that we have our most precious product. That's a cart for you to put the product in. At no time should we say put it at the curb and we'll pick it up off the ground. So initially coming in, I found out about this. I worked diligently with the old contractor, and they were in trouble around the country. It just wasn't us, right? But one of the things I did with bringing them 35 years experience with me, I brought a Rolodex of contacts. And one of my contacts happened to be right in Lawrenceville, Georgia, with the company Rarick Pacific. And we've entered into a new contract with them, and we've got an inventory full of carts that I assure they will never run out again. Our customer service area. Customer service is what it is, right? But I don't see that anymore. It's the experience that you have. What's your experience like when you get off the phone or you come to our lobby? I want to make sure that that's the best experience possible. So we're going to be rebranding that area to our customer experience division. So those of you who may visit the office, there'll be a QR code at the window. You can scan that QR code and it'll ask you a couple of questions. We want to hear from you. We want to know how we're doing to enhance that experience. And be honest with us. If there's something wrong, let us know. Our commercial services. It's important that we preserve our own. The funny thing about commercial services, and we don't watch it and provide quality service if you're a business owner, the privates come in. And when the privates come in, they're sometimes going to double charge you what DeKalb County can charge. That's important. That's important. So we want to do a full-on campaign and looking at these accounts that we've lost over the years and go back and get back DeKalb County to preserve that business for us. The public-private partnership. Now, this is on the horizon. We brainstorm a lot. I sleep, I dream, I eat on how we can improve. One of the things, a program that I help initiate, and it kind of goes back, and I don't want to steal any thunder from some of our other areas of initiative, but to help some of our citizens in the community who just don't have the financial resources to help make those repairs. I've entered into 2 agreements in the past with Home Depot where they provide supplies and tools, and the citizens are engaged with DeKalb County employees, the same young men and women that you see coming up and down the streets every day. Guess what? With those donated materials from Home Depot, they're out on Saturdays rehabbing homes. That's huge. One of the general foremen mentioned to me, the answers are already here, and don't sleep on anyone because they don't hold a title. You don't have to have a title to be a leader. He said, Eugene, what can we do to get more involved in the community? So we want to be able to pass some of these things on and go forward. So from a sustainability initiative, so we have our Seminole Road landfill, and I just kind of process these numbers. Out of 464, let me round up, 465,000 tons, right? Out of that, almost 400,000 tons were disposed of. So waste diversion, 49,000 tons were used as far as diverted as far as recycling, right? There's also another opportunity to use some of that diverted material in the form of the yard trash that comes out there that is not actually put into the landfill, but it's ground up and used as mulch, and it's free to DeKalb County residents. So that's important as well. Now, this is a great opportunity that we can improve on. We think we can get these numbers a little bit better. I'll be coming forward and working with our leadership and form a comprehensive diversion waste program. That means to preserve our landfill, we don't want anything in the landfill that does not have a traceable waste value. That means if it don't produce methane gas, I don't want it. Now, beautification. This is a great looking county. I got to give it up for the beautification team. There's about 86 employees who keep the county well. And some of the numbers that impact that statement I made over a 12-month period, about 3,000 tires were collected, more than 12,000 miles of debris cleared, bags of litter, 123, almost 124,000. Illegal signs removed. We put a sign up, everything's for sale, right? 25,000 removed. Debris collected along county right-of-way, over 1,000 tons. Curb bumping, those gutters, they're clean, 223 miles. We are championing the efforts for illegal tire dumping in DeKalb County. So look at some of these numbers, 37,000 tires collected. There was an amnesty day that was so popular first day, we had to extend it into another series. And in that, there were over 5,000 tires collected.
And if I might pop in right there, we understanding that the cost that's associated with the remediation of tires, the pickup, is greater than DeKalb County owning the problem in the beginning, because often people dump tires in hard-to-reach places. And also, illegal dumping becomes an unfunded mandate on a business owner, which affects whether or not people want to do business in your county. Mm-hmm. It is very unfortunate what we deal with, and I have to say that government was never designed, honestly, to be as parochial as we must be, because people who are living in the community simply do not care and do not respect the community. But we do have an RFP that is going out because we want to own the tire issue. Let's just get this over, because it is costing us massive amounts of money. So we are seeking a company who will be responsible for all tire recycling, and you can just bring them to us, because it makes more sense for us to be on the front end and be proactive than it does to be responsive and sending out crews and constantly hiring people to remediate these conditions. Because I want to be clear, DeKalb County does not have a division that is responsible for tire pickup and remediation and disposal. So as taxpayers, we pay for these actions that are taking place. And that is, it's very troubling. Also, I must say that across DeKalb County, when we look at litter, we use the term litter remediation, and that's a fancy word for picking up paper. That is literally a multi-million-dollar contract that could be better used in our parks in areas where you can see improvement. So we are working also with schools to help children understand early the importance of sustainability and protecting the environment. Because this is a mentality that we're dealing with. People who don't respect community, and if we can catch young people early, hopefully we can help solve these problems that would occur later in life. Back to you, Director McKinnie.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Another thing, just a quick note on tires. We still have to focus on the generation, because a lot of tires we've seen are mass dumped. They're not just the 1, 2, 3 here and there. They're mass dumped. So we need to be looking at this, the generation point. These tire shops, they may hire someone to come in and pick them up. And if you don't hold them accountable and have a tracking system, then that's when they wind up on the side of the road or in some bushes or somewhere else. But if you create a tracking system from the point, from the generation where they gather them, who's recycling them, who's picking them up, and where they're taking them for disposal, track the process through, which should mediate some of that. But just to shut us down, we have some wonderful employees. Again, I want to recognize them for the great work they're doing, some safety things on the national level, not just DeKalb in the local area, but on the national level. They participate in SWALM, the Solid Waste Association of North America, the Georgia chapter. So there's just some individual awards I'll go through, Professional of the Year, Supervisor of the Year, Employee of the Year. We got some things on. We won a beautification award for tire abatement and illegal tire dumping. So that's impactful. We're keeping our community clean. And then there was some other performance. The zero-turn motor, the automated side loader, and the rubber tire loader. The rubber tire loader is something we use at the landfill. So we have professionals in our roles, and we want to make sure that they're treated as such. And this is just some contact information. Again, Sanitation Division. Hopefully we won't see too many titles with that on it real soon. That'll be something different. Our beautification unit is separate, but we will all work together. Just some contact information. Of course, our social media through Facebook. But we want to hear from you. You are the MVPs, and together we'll make this community a lot better.
Thank you. And good evening. I'd like to just go over a couple of infrastructure type issues or things that we're doing. Primarily, we want to have a couple of moments to talk about our pavement evaluation and preventive maintenance and resurface and selection process. And then, because of all the rain, we'll move over quickly to our stormwater utility. That's a lot of writing, but I'm not going to read that. That is just to say that we do have a process in the county for pavement evaluations, and each roadway segment in DeKalb County is evaluated at least once a year, and that is over 7,200 road segments. So each one of those is evaluated at least once a year, and it receives a rating of between 0 and 62. And we call that rating actually our pavement condition index. And when we're out rating the roads, we're looking at about 12 different things, things that you see on the road. You may not know the names of some of those things, but we'll briefly let you see them. And I know that you've seen them. You don't know the names, but here they are. We look at alligator cracking and longitudinal cracking, block cracking, and we also look at transverse cracking. These are things that while you're driving on the roadways, you see them, and we want you to know that we see them too, and we actually evaluate your roads based on those things. You see patching, depressions. I know you see potholes. We get those calls every day. And you also see the upheavals where actual tree roots are upheaving the pavement. Additionally, there's rutting, missing stone, oxidation, edge raveling, and bleeding. Those are just a lot of fancy words, but those are the different type conditions that we look at each day when we're out evaluating the roadways. And each road is given a number. Each thing that we look at, each of those things that I mentioned, given a number and a rating between 0 and 62. 0 is a street that has just been resurfaced. 62 is a street that has totally fallen apart. And our roads are rated between those numbers. And of course, the lower the number, the better condition of the street. And once the street reaches a rating of a 30, then we consider that it's definitely past time for resurfacing. So that's how a street gets on the resurfacing list, is once it reaches a rating of 30. And in DeKalb County, our policy for resurfacing is worst first. So it costs less money to resurface a street as early as possible. Once it's totally gone, you have to build it from the ground up. So in discussing the pavement condition index, if you look at this chart, you know, a lot of things go into it, the stress type, the stress severity, and over on the right of that chart, you'll see, as I mentioned, a 0 is an excellent condition. But even when you get to 40, that road has failed. You all know what potholes look like, but I wanted to mention that in the winter, you know, we get a lot of calls, you know, regarding, you know, filling potholes and why we filled it yesterday and a month later it's broken again, because in the winter we have less access to hot asphalt, and that's what you want to pave and fill potholes with. So when you don't have the hot asphalt, you patch it with cold, and those have to be redone. Additionally, we also have to do base stabilization on occasion when the base of the roadway has totally failed. We do small patching. We also do patching for both lanes, and there's also single lane patching. Those are the kind of different things that you see. All of that is to save and preserve the condition of the road until it becomes eligible for resurfacing. And one of the important things to note about the PCI, which is, again, the Pavement Condition Index, is the lower the better. And if you look at this chart, you'll see that in 2017, the average PCI rating for those 7,000 road segments was 18.75. If you look at 2025, the average pavement condition rating was 16.17. So from 18 to 16, the lower the better. Our road conditions are improving.
And let's all clap on that, because we're all driving along the same highway. But I did want to say that, you know, it's interesting because this is worthless knowledge, but I feel that residents need to know and understand where we are, because the truth is we didn't get here overnight. And it was in 2017 that voters by referendum actually passed the SPLOST program. We began collection in 2018, and in 2019 is when we began the road work. And think about it, 2019 is not so long ago. We just completed our first 6-year cycle of the SPLOST program. And those dollars are very important to DeKalb County, because the truth of the matter is we can do no more than we have an expendable income to do. And with the current level of recycling, I believe it will take us, and we do have Director Kingsbury who manages those funds, so I'll leave this for him to answer, a full 2-term cycle of SPLOST to actively resurface all roads. I believe, unless things have changed, and if I'm still correct, because I have to retain so much, we're able to resurface around 120 miles per year through SPLOST and an additional 19 to 20 miles through LMIG. LMIG are actual state funds. So I just want to say to you, we can't leapfrog you. Sometimes we get hostile calls from people that say, my road is the worst, and I need you to come out here now. But we have a system. And if you live in particularly South and unincorporated DeKalb, because that is where the roads have the worst grades, you are actively seeing us resurface roads now. So if you give us the time, we are coming to your road and your street. But we have to be systemic in what we do, because for years decisions were made for road surfacing by commissioners. There was no system in place. And that certainly didn't help us. It did not. So we're going to be honorable to the system. We're going to grade the roads. We're going to stick to the worst first philosophy. And given time, you will see that we will resurface all of DeKalb County roads. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. In that note, if you look at the next slide, just the one thing that I wanted to highlight, as the CEO mentioned, we started resurfacing in 2018. At that time, the average cost of resurfacing was $450,000 per mile. That has changed. Now the average cost of resurfacing is $900,000 a mile. In one of our recent contracts, it cost over $1 million. So the cost of resurfacing is increasing, and actually asphalt is tied to the cost of gas and oil. So as that cost fluctuates, so does our resurfacing cost. Okay. The next thing is, as we continue to, what's next? As we continue to resurface roads, we do know that PCI number will continue to get lower, and our road conditions will continue to improve. And one note to finish talking about our resurfacing, our pavement, the way we resurface roads, the way we evaluate them, our Public Works Department is accredited by our national agency, and when they reviewed how we resurface roads and how we go through the process of evaluation, they awarded the DeKalb County Public Works Department with the Model Practice Award. And what that means is that our evaluation process is used as a model practice for other public works departments around the country. Okay. Now we talk briefly about our stormwater utility. Everyone is familiar with that since we've had so much rain lately. Everything's flooding. If you look at this slide, I'm sure you look at that photograph, it's not fake. That is a failed 72-inch corrugated metal pipe. It was real. And just a brief note about the infrastructure that we do maintain in DeKalb County. We maintain over 500 miles of pipe. That's pipe along the right-of-way. We maintain over 22,000 catch basins. So when you do see a damaged catch basin alongside the road and it takes us a while to get to it, it's because we maintain over 22,000 of those. We also maintain over 938 detention ponds, and we also have dams that we have to maintain. And a number of those dams are Category 1 dams, which means that if they fail, there's a high potential of loss of property and life, and we maintain a number of those. We also maintain over 200 bridges in the county and over 135 miles of roadside ditches. So our inventory is huge, and our inventory is aging. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that, it takes a lot of funding to do the maintenance that we do, and it's so much inventory involved. But we do get around to the projects, sometimes not as quickly as you would like, but there is a large inventory that we are actually maintaining out there. But one of the other things that we are doing is green infrastructure efforts. We're working with other partners. We're working with our Parks Department to do different green infrastructure measures. And so that's to help DeKalb County be more sustainable with our stormwater utility. One of our recent, we call it a success only because we were able to make a repair relatively quickly. On the surface, it looks like there was just a large hole in the road. Well, actually, that hole went all the way through to the creek. And it took a lot of resources to make this repair. So on the surface, it looks like what we're doing is small. But a project like this and the repair cost, it was actually over $1 million. And because of all the work and the time and speed that we got it done, this project was submitted to our national organization, our Georgia chapter, for a BWA Disaster of the Year award. We also have other stormwater utility initiatives going on. We partner with other agencies to try to get additional work done. We try to get additional funding in any way we can. We apply for multiple grants. We're working in our phase 2 of our strategic stormwater master plan, and that plan is critical because it tells us we don't know what we have to fix until we know what's out there. So we're strategically going throughout DeKalb County, looking at every basin, every stormwater basin, to find out what inventory we have there and the condition of that inventory. And we're going countywide to be able to do that. And we're doing it as a part of our stormwater master plan. Now, this final slide is basically just to show you that it talks about the infrastructure, but it also talks about the failing infrastructure. That large pipe that I showed you earlier, it's probably been in the ground about 50 years, and then it failed. In that corrugated metal pipe, a large part of our inventory is corrugated metal pipe, and it is failing at a rapid rate. So we're working as hard as we can to canvass the entire county, check the condition of all of our infrastructure, and get it repaired as quickly as possible, and that's going to cost a lot of money. So I wanted to just leave you with that note and let you know that it rained last night. We had a lot of failed infrastructure last night. We continue to get it every time it rains, but we're out there, and we're going to do the best we can to take care of all of the DeKalb County infrastructure as we go. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I see Deanna and everyone's giving me like I got 2 minutes to cover 7 or 8 minutes of slides. Last but not least, it's the SPLOST program. I want to leave with 5 things. There's a lot of numbers on these slides, but there's 5 things I want you to take away. One, as the CEO and others have said, y'all as the citizens, I'm a 75 graduate of Towers High School, we voted to give ourselves an extra penny. We're the last county in Georgia to do that. We went from 7 cents of sales tax to 8 cents. A lot of folks said we couldn't do it because we had MARTA, we had our host, we had our school board taxes, but we did it once and we've done it again. As the CEO said, we're on our second 6-year SPLOST. So after 8 years in, we're working on the next 200 miles that Peggy talked about with road resurfacing. So 2 SPLOST programs will resurface 500 miles of road. She's got about 1,000 miles of inventory. So we need a few more SPLOST coming down the road. Second thing to think about is SPLOST dollars by law have to be capital improvements, 10 years or more. So that penny goes to build things that, but for SPLOST, the county can never get to. Third thing is the CEO mentioned project managers. I work for a firm called Atlas, used to be Moreland Altabelli. We work with all the metro counties. You work around the state. We manage sales tax programs for county governments because all the folks to my right, every day, they've got departments to run, parks to run, storm drains to clean out, fire trucks, garbage trucks. So we're on board so they can concentrate on their daily jobs providing service, and we take care of getting the things built that your penny sales tax paid for. So we're a staff extension. And then finally, think about this. I may not be the oldest person up here, but in 1987, before, well, y'all can laugh, but in 1987, before SPLOST was even a vehicle the General Assembly allowed counties to have, DeKalb County said, we're going to improve our parks and library system. And we went to the polls. I was a new parent at the time. $66 million. Manny Maloof said it's never going to pass. Jim Cohn at Parks got $33 million. Barbara Lord and Libraries got $33 million. They hired a bunch of guys. They just started their own firm. I happened to be working for them. So SPLOST is going back into parks that were built in the late 80s with that bond program 39 years ago, because things don't last forever, and rebuilding athletic fields, rebuilding concession stands. And real quickly, because I know we're running out of town, SPLOST 1, well over $450 million in the bank. Board of Commissioners has signed off on spending about 70 or 80% of that. We were lucky, inflation bites. We're all paying more, but that inflation also has allowed us to collect a little extra money and keep up with being able to build things we wouldn't have done otherwise. Major projects, all these things are on the website. Shameless plug, go to the penny on the county's new website, click on it, you get a map. It'll give you type your address in, it'll show you the roads in your neighborhood, parks and fire stations nearby. But one thing to remember, SPLOST 1 had 4 major categories: transportation, public safety, parks, and community facilities. Had 34 subcategories. We've done about 180 projects, including those 300 miles of roads. SPLOST 2 comes along. First penny started rolling in April 1st, 2024. We're about $154 million in the bank with collections and interest. And again, the board has authorized projects that were part of master plans, part of deferred maintenance programs. The 3 fire stations the CEO mentioned, the contracts have been awarded. Notice proceeds are pending. We've got 3 more in design. We've got 2 more major ones in land acquisition. So SPLOST 2 is up and running and well along. A lot of things have been built. You can read the fine print. I think there might be some handouts in the back. But here's another thing. SPLOST 1 and SPLOST 2 are identical in the 4 major categories, but there's only 17 categories, 17 subcategories, those 4 major ones. And we were able in SPLOST 2 to add 5 new categories: watershed projects, health centers, energy efficiency projects, the Lucia Sanders Intergenerational Center, first of its kind in DeKalb County. And then the 4 smallest cities in the county, SPLOST 2 gave each of them $2 million for projects that benefit both the county and the cities, primarily in stormwater infrastructure. So with that, that's the end of the SPLOST program. That goes all the way back to Lorraine.
Thank you all so much. I now have questions, and there's no way to do it except go to it. Some of them I see may be overlapping, so I've tried to put some together. This is a question regarding the boarding house ordinance. Will your housing plan approach an ordinance on boarding houses that are exploding across DeKalb? If there is not an ordinance, how can we protect the people living in them and the neighbors living nearby? Another question, where can you find the ordinance for Airbnbs in neighborhoods? Okay. Recently, the Board of Commissioners, and the ordinance had probably been 2 to 3 years in the making, passed an ordinance that affects short-term rentals. Those are your Airbnbs. And I think that it's very important that we do a special edition newsletter so that we include the ordinance itself. And some of you may have seen the coverage of the ordinance passing recently in the news. The short-term rental ordinance will govern how those facilities are utilized here if you are using a home as a short-term rental. But also on the first question, I believe there is a little confusion because pad splits are illegal. When you use the term boarding houses, you can rent a room in your home. That's an inherent right of property ownership, but you cannot create a mini hotel in a community. If you find that there is someone who has created a pad split in your community, if you will call us, our code compliance division, we will send someone out. We will do the necessary surveillance if necessary to determine if that's the case. And if so, we will then issue them a cease and desist. If they fail to cease and desist, that then requires court intervention, and they will be bound over to the court to go through the process. And feel free, anyone else here who wants to add as I'm going through these questions. What are the plans and vision for South DeKalb Mall once we secure a buyer? I will allow Chief Development Officer Vallo to answer that question. There is an active contract.
Yes, thank you, Madam CEO. Simply put, since we're short on time, it's mixed use. So think restaurants, some retail, housing, and green space. Very simple.
Okay, so we are working with them actively to get them across the finish line. And I say that because we are keenly aware that the future of economic development and true success along Candler Road, we're very excited to have the Publix coming, but it is really focused around the redevelopment and reimagination of South DeKalb Mall. How to report street paving needs. Honestly, people just call 311 in DeKalb County and say, I need, and I want to be clear because the street paving, you don't get to report street paving. We explained the system a minute ago. I had to correct myself here. That is a system. But if you have a pothole or there is a repair that you need us to view, just call 311 and indicate that you have a pothole. Do not report to Facebook or social media. Just tell us, because we don't drive those streets. We don't know. And once you report it, we'll create a ticket number and we'll get someone out to handle any road patching or that may be necessary or filling of potholes. This said pad splits. I think we've addressed it. What plans do we have to support and enhance technology for the county? I will speak to that. We've already started with the website, and it took a full year to update our website because of the enormous amount of content that it has. But also, as we completed the Malden and Jenkins study, it revealed inadequacies in technology. So some of the service delivery problems that we've had over the years were a direct result of inadequate technology within the departments. An example being planning and sustainability. Planning and sustainability, when we are issuing permits, it may require 3 different divisions, not only planning and sustainability, but also our fire department. Also, depending on if it's a restaurant, perhaps your health department. But there was no central system that allowed everyone to see the notes as the process went forward. So we have worked with Oracle. We have designed a new technology that will be a proprietary system that now allows the access that's necessary for the departments to be more functional, to stop the breakdown in the process. So across DeKalb, we are investing in new technology. I talked to you earlier about our 911 system that we've invested in, and several other departments, including our procurement department. And COO Williams, feel free to chime in as well if there's anything that I'm missing. Oh, okay. Also, the artificial intelligence for 311. And I'm really excited about this artificial intelligence. I hope it does help us become as efficient as it has indicated. But across DeKalb, we are investing in the technology so that people can get things done. This question is, how is code enforcement to address dilapidated properties where the owners just pay the measly $100 fine and still pay their property taxes? These vacant houses distract from owners trying to keep up their homes. Let me say that when we have a report that there is an issue, and I think there's a total of 18 different violations, we send out a code compliance officer and they issue a citation. Now, in a perfect world, that homeowner will remediate those conditions because they're good neighbors. But unfortunately, many homeowners don't. And again, we cannot force compliance. At that point, we then bind them over to the courts. And in many instances, it takes a great deal of time to make it through the court system. And for us, we work with our judges because we do not have the power and authority to determine whether or not an individual is guilty or innocent. That becomes a process through the judicial system. So when there are repeat offenders, our code compliance officers, they show up in court and they testify. And I would say, you know, as a part of your HOA, if you're dealing with an issue, show up as well. Let the judges see your face and let them hear from you on the impact that these homes have in your community. Because again, we are not the finder of fact. We must bind over homeowners who fail to be good neighbors. And also, we were just talking, blight tax came up. Here in DeKalb County, a little over a year ago, I teamed with Commissioner Patrick, and we introduced a blight tax. And the blight tax specifically holds accountable commercial properties and commercial property owners who fail to upkeep their property. We are able to tax them at a higher rate. Because across DeKalb, we have a lot of vacant businesses, and they plain and simply are not keeping up those businesses during the period of transition. So do be aware that we have a blight tax. This question says, SPLOST IGA, how does DeKalb County hold municipalities legally accountable for breach of DeKalb IGA with any cities on SPLOST 1 and 2 and small cities who can citizens contact at DeKalb County? Well, let me say that as it relates to a lot of the revenue we receive, and SPLOST, I want to say to you, we're not fluid, and we have one of our SPLOST committee members, Mr. Stephen Benny, present. I'm happy to say that he represents the CEO's office on the SPLOST committee. we're not fluid and we don't get to move around that money like peas on a plate. Because when we come to an agreement after the community meetings and it was decided the pots, the large pockets where the money should be invested, those amounts were determined, and that becomes what was adopted by the General Assembly. So with that being said, as it relates to holding cities accountable, the cities are bound by the rules that were established through the General Assembly at the time we adopted the SPLOST program. And each and every year, I do believe that they are accountable to the state as well. Is that not accurate, COO Williams?
Yes, each municipality has to govern themselves, and they are required to submit a report on the expenditures, which is something that we do in DeKalb County, but each municipality is directly responsible to their own citizenry, not to DeKalb County.
Next question, accidents on Candler Road, go-karts driving, Circle K murders / shootings, road paving needs, Lloyd Road, and I think this is Cavalier. I think that word is Gardens. Road paving needs. Again, we have a process. And I do want to say that if you want to determine whether or not your road grade meets the requirement for resurfacing during any year, you can go to our website. As soon as you get there, you're going to see a little thing that we call Joe Penny. It's a symbol. When you click Joe Penny, it carries you over to our SPLOST, Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax website. And it allows you to enter your street, and it will tell you whether your road has been approved for resurfacing during this particular cycle. It will also show you all of in green. Every road that is green has already been resurfaced. Everything that is yellow is in progress, and everything red has been approved, but the work has not begun. So you can go there and determine whether or not your road, or you can feel free to call 311 and say, I need to know whether or not my road is scheduled for resurfacing, and they will send you over to us and we'll answer. In terms of murders and shootings, crime, as we said, is down, but violent crime continues to be the biggest problem that we have in DeKalb County, violent crime. And if laws prevented criminal activity, we wouldn't have any. And I just have to be honest when I say that, because we can't legislate morality and decency. That is not what we desire. So by requiring, as many of you may be familiar with the video surveillance system ordinance at our gas and service stations, that's the #1 location for violent crime in DeKalb County. Requiring video surveillance, requiring proper lighting, we do everything that we can do to ensure safe environments. But again, if there is an incident, we are responsive, and we are actually adjudicating cases and bringing people to justice very swiftly now. So it continues to be an ongoing issue we'll continue to address. What is the county's position on high-speed chases involving our police officers? And that question is for Hughes. They have your name listed. What is sanitation doing to address trucks leaking fluid on our streets in our subdivisions in Columbia Valley? And Mr. McKinnie, that one has your name on it. So Mr. Hughes, we'll start with you. What is the county's position on high-speed chases involving our police officers?
So the county has, we broadened our ability to chase criminals, which has been very effective. However, each case is dealt with on a case-by-case basis. Supervisors and officers are advised heavily to use discretion. They don't chase in certain circumstances, whether if it's in a school zone, certain times of the day. We look at the conditions of the road, the weather. Those things are factored in when we decide if we're going to pursue an individual or not. So that's probably the short answer I can give you for that.
And what is sanitation doing to address trucks leaking fluid on the streets in our subdivisions on Columbia Valley? And before you answer this, Mr. McKinney, I'm so excited to push out our video library, because to be honest, if you didn't put liquids in the wastebasket, we wouldn't lose the fluid. And that is the most transparent thing that I can say. And in many instances, those fluids are darn near combustible, because what comes from the earth should go back. That's why we're really wanting to help educate everyone here on composting, because again, our sanitation drivers can't remove liquids and fluids. You were never supposed to place them in your wastebasket. So, Director McKinnie.
Yes, ma'am. We received the lecture, correct? But that's twofold. So we have a responsibility of what we're putting in the waste. Typically, we see things that a lot of liquids. I mean, and the rain's going to contribute to mixing with the garbage, and it's going to create what's called leachate. It's going to drip. And some of the things we can control, but I think it starts at the source of what we put in the containers. And the other part of that is we have to encourage our teams and work with our teams to do better jobs of pre- and post-trip inspections on the vehicles. Because a lot of those fluids that are leaking are tailgate seals that aren't sealed properly, and then, things leak out. But then they may have hydraulic leak, engine oil leaks that aren't reported. Sometimes we get in the posture of just wanting to go get the truck and get out there, but it causes havoc in the neighborhoods. But I will say, rest assured that if there's a leak and there's something going on, reach out to us. And if it's so to the point where it's massive, severe, we want to be able to respond. We have a team that comes out with some oil dry, and if needed, we bring a portable pressure washer to kind of clean those spills up. But we want to do some avoidance, right? We want to do some avoidance so we don't have to take those actions. So again, being mindful of what we put in, and a lot of the times that stuff comes from, commercial businesses, and then on the residential side, we see like oils. We'll put it in the bag and just put an oil in the trash can, but when that load gets to be at capacity and that blade is compacting everything, remember, the blade inside the body of that truck has a 3-to-1 compaction ratio. 3-to-1. So that blade hits it, and everything that was a large size is going to get compressed, and if there's any orifice in the body of that truck, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. So it's twofold. So let's partner, right? Let's partner together. Be mindful of what we put in the trash, and then we'll be mindful of that, making sure our trucks aren't leaking, fluids, the necessary fluids that keep the trucks running. But again, if you see something, say something.
Absolutely. And let me say also that half of this, because oftentimes this can become a hazardous waste issue. We really need you to be mindful of what's placed in our trash cans. And also, I think it's important to address this, because every day I get about 150 to 200 emails each and every day. And I will have community members say, you need to send them back out here. They left trash in front of my yard. Well, that's because your trash was not properly disposed of, because it should be in a bag. So if you have Coke cans and a McDonald's thing, they'll send me photos and say, you need to send your people back. Help me help you. Because if you did the right thing, it wouldn't be there. And this is not to be scolding, but again, this is a teachable moment, because we just went over the amount of personnel we have. We can't do that. So we need everyone to be responsible and help us, because it's a lot of work to be done here. Next question to
Madam CEO, can I add one tidbit on that? Mm-hmm. The number one reason industry-wide for the longest that we lose garbage trucks is because of chemicals that we put in, the household chemicals we use, and we put them in, and then once again, that compression ratio, the compaction, once it gets packed up, there's a combustible event that happens. Next thing you know, a truck is on fire, we can't discharge the load fast enough, and then we lose. Right now, the market for a front loader, automated side loader, is about $500,000 a truck. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you, because this is a teachable moment. Next, we have you replace sewer and water lines in the Glendale Drive and Green Forest area about 3 to 4 years ago, leaving the roads very rough. When do you plan to pave the area? Again, if you will reach out to us, and if anyone has any more information, because I don't manufacture responses on site, then feel free to answer. If not, if you'll call our office, we can check on this road. and COO Williams has taken that card. So please reach out. Just call the CEO's office. To CEO or Jacob Vallo, what are you doing to bring more viable businesses into the community regarding Redan Road and South Harrison Road? Businesses are deteriorating. Okay, that's the word. The Mexican restaurant out of business, a seafood restaurant across the street is a haven for loitering and homeless. And then it has Waffle House. I will allow our Chief Development Officer to answer.
It's a tough issue, right? Where you've got crime, insurance rate issues, you've got low sales, so folks are closing their doors because they've got low sales. We've got a couple of different broker relationships that we've created, so we have folks that are actually actively working on bringing new businesses into DeKalb, and then we're also working on financing tools because in many cases there's a big spread between the ability for people to make money in these locations, and so we've got to subsidize that. So we're working with our partner in Decide DeKalb and trying to figure out what's called a revolving loan fund. We do have 5 tax allocation districts, which take applications from business owners and property owners to, and it's typically grant money, and that grant money is used to plug the gap in the economics to make it work, but it's not easy, not at all. So.
And also, I would say opportunity zones, we strongly encourage because there's added incentives, and those are areas because of, shall I say, that are in need of the revitalization of local business. We strongly support those. And to be honest, we have to be a part of the change that we desire. So along Candler Road, that's why we have been strategic, because we do believe that with the recruitment of the Publix and the build out of the new retail center, it will begin to spur additional investments because businesses are seeing the revitalization take place. We also believe that moving forward, South DeKalb Mall, once there is an announcement there that the revitalization is underway, it will excite more people to come into the area. 4380 Memorial Drive was a huge investment for us. $17 million. We had rented that location for 28 years and spent over $28 million. Most people, if you're just a citizen like me, I thought we already owned it because ever since I've been a resident of DeKalb County, that's where I reported to for voting and for the tax assessor's office. But we purchased that location, and thank you to the Board of Commissioners for giving us that authority when we came to you. So now we are actively developing a plan to revitalize it, because along Memorial Drive, you are seeing a lot of development of housing. And also, just because, again, much of what we say is a teachable moment, do not always say no. As a community, learn when to say yes and be specific on what you want. And I say that because I have so many people that call me. Thank you for that. And they say, we want to be like the city of Decatur. What are you going to do about that? We want a walkable community. Well, if you stand outside 1300 Commerce Drive and you give me a rock, if I throw in any direction, I will strike a building. But these are the same people who don't want increased density in their community. The communities are walkable because the density is there. And as you create the density and as you attract in higher incomes, then that changes the trajectory of the community. Because I know that, Jacob can also say that it's a simple formula for economic development in communities. If we reach out to Whole Foods, and these are many businesses that we've spoken with that we want. They're concerned with one thing, first of all: what is the location where you want us to exist? When you give the location, the only thing they're concerned with is the median household income and how many individuals are within a quarter-mile radius of the location. because those two factors will tell them whether or not the business can survive. So I need you to understand the process, because oftentimes communities will show up and say, we don't want it. But in order to get us where we need to be, we've got to work together on this, because it's going to require some give and take. Now, will the senior housing, and this is for Dr. Ferguson, will the senior housing assistance for repairs include condo owners?
Yes, so we're actually working on a way to incorporate some repairs for condo owners. The challenge with condos, quite frankly, is that it's easy to do repairs inside of the unit, but you need the cooperation of the condo association and your fellow neighbors to do any type of repairs that are outside of the unit. So we're trying to work on a framework where we can allow for some limited repairs as long as there are interior, to the unit, because that will actually kind of make it easier to get those types of repairs done. So we are contemplating condo units in this new program.
And next, and we're going to move quickly. We know we're over time, but if you're good with me, I'm good with you. Why did DeKalb County drop senior house tax break at 65 years old? I cannot answer that question. I was not aware that there was a senior tax break based on age. Okay, this would be a question, we believe, for the tax commissioner. We're not going to sit here and manufacture a reply. I guess what we'll do is start a list on this side, and if you will call our office, we will respond, or maybe we'll just put these in a newsletter, because we will send out this entire presentation here tonight. We'll place it in the newsletter, and we'll respond to those questions in that newsletter. As you're leaving, we do have a clipboard in the lobby so that you can register for the county newsletter if you're not receiving it that comes out of my office. Why doesn't DeKalb County recycle glass curbside, Mr. McKinnie?
Well, the most transparent answer and the cleanest answer is that's a messy process, having it at the curb. The other thing, I go back to the truck and that blade sweeping the trash from that 3-to-1 ratio. Glass is very abrasive to the floors of the truck. Inside the truck, the body of the truck, glass is very abrasive. Now, during an environment where glass was widely accepted and it could mix in with everything else, that kind of covered some of the abrasion. We have our public works director here, and he can attest that when we have to do floors on the truck, the maintenance was high. The preferred method for glass, because when it's contaminated and mixed in with everything else, is no good. The preferred method is to have it dropped off to a specific location so it can be better managed that way. It can be separated, and it can get to the proper market as a clean product. Anytime it's contaminated, it's almost rejected. Our local MRF internally, and then our Pratt Industries, who do all our processing. Pratt is built on cardboard to reproduce that product. They do take other materials, but they do not want glass. So to keep it a very local conversation, we say 20 years ago there were 7 products that was widely accepted. However, when these markets start drying up, the Asian market stopped accepting these things. Now we only have 2 products. Now glass is on the horizon again, but you have to find that special market for it. So the other thing that I've seen with communities who supported glass at the curb from the household, communities start getting a little dirty because glass starts breaking, leaking out trucks, and now it's all over your neighborhoods. Now you want to file claims with the county because you got flat tires, or little Johnny got cut on his bicycle when he fell because it was a debris. It's so many things that's connected to that. So the safest environment is to bring it to a safe location and dispose of it properly.
And thank you for that, because I do want to say that over the past 4 years, the whole game of recycling has changed. When I came on board as a commissioner, China, I believe, was receiving our plastics. Now China want no plastic. So we literally have to pay. And this is the really interesting dichotomy of what we experience. The community believes that they're recycling when in essence we're receiving and we're having to pay someone to take it away. So I just want to point that out, because we no longer, when it comes to glass, Pratt was the only show in town and they no longer accept glass. And we just went over the liability that it is for us. So we can't afford to allow you to discard glass curbside. And that's the conclusion that I've reached sitting here as you've spoken and as COO and I have chatted. I'm going to go to the next question. Revitalization plan now says retired on the county website for Memorial Drive. What happened to our plan and monies that was allocated for this project? And I do believe the initial revitalization plan that may be referred to here was struck by Commissioner Bradshaw during his time in office. And we've moved forward with everything that was promised there, and I'll allow COO Williams to speak to that.
Yes, and thank you, Madam CEO. A lot of that, the strategy for revitalization on Memorial Drive involved rebranding, which included fabrication of signs, markers, and banners. And my understanding, all that's still moving. So what we'll do is we'll make sure we provide an update as to when people will start seeing the updated and upgraded signs and banners. But our community development department is managing that.
Next question. With dwindling tax dollars supporting the needs for all of the DeKalb schools, how do we ensure that business rental owners pay their fair share in supporting our schools? And honestly, this is a question for DeKalb County schools. So I just want to be respectful of time. What is DeKalb doing to prevent data centers from our communities? SPLOST dollars, the roads in my neighborhood are deplorable, and they have indicated I think this is 30041 Chapel Hill Community, and then they said turnover, the water main breaks are too often. My neighborhood has at least 10 a year. Are you considering any programs to help seniors with property taxes? So let's take this one by one. Data centers, the Board of Commissioners is the legislative branch. Our Board of Commissioners is actively working towards a data center ordinance that will determine and regulate how and if data centers move forward in DeKalb County. And currently there is a moratorium on the development of any, until which time those guardrails and or their decision as to whether they move forward takes place. SPLOST dollars, the roads in your neighborhood are deplorable. Call DeKalb County. I will go ahead and turn over to Director Allen. I'll send you this card, and let's get someone out to the Chapel Hill community to take a look. But please be as specific with us as possible. If it's a pothole, try and give us more of a landmark so we know where it is and we're not out there having to search for it. And feel free, that's what government is for. Call the office, ask for 311, say you want to report a pothole or that there's a hazardous condition, and we'll come out. Water main breaks are too often. My neighborhood has at least 10 a year. Let me say that we are actively, and we do have a priority list, and actually it's not optional. We have what we called PSARPs and OSARPs. PSARP, Priority Sewer Assessment Rehabilitation, and OSARP, Ongoing Sewer Assessment Rehabilitation. And that's the result of being under an active consent decree that requires us to expand, replace, and enlarge infrastructure all over DeKalb County. Because for 60 years we had growth and we had absolutely no capital improvement plan taking place on what was in the ground. So with that being said, It always costs you more to be responsive than to be proactive. But I can't go back 60 years. We had to start from where we are now. And we were honestly in a position where we had to make critical decisions because we were facing over $100 million in fines as a result of not expanding, replacing, and enlarging our infrastructure. So across DeKalb, we work from the priority sewer areas. I do believe we have rehabilitated all of those because the priority sewer areas were responsible for about 70% of the area where you have your leaks and your SSOs, sanitary sewer overflow. So again, unfortunately, we are moving as quickly as we can, but there will continue to be water main breaks. But as we continue to rehabilitate the system, we are seeing those continue to diminish. Are you considering any programs to help seniors with property taxes? With that being said, that's a tax question. We'll take that up with the tax commissioner. Will the slide presentation be shared? Yes, I will place it in our newsletter. What specifically can be done to update, develop, and provide safety to Stonecrest? Okay, I live in Stonecrest. So let me say that, we actively patrol. If there is a concern for a particular community or a particular location, if you will let us know, we do our best to increase safety patrol if we know of a known area where there is an uptick in crime. So again, reach out to us, communicate with us, let us know, and we'll do everything we can. Wesley Chapel, which is practically in the center of DeKalb, needs revitalization. Starting with the county property along East Side Drive, just south of the I-20 exit, used to be a school. Can we do anything with that property? Anything. East Side Drive, just south of I-20.
Madam CEO, that's the street that got renamed, and that's the future location of Fire Station 16.
Oh, okay. Well, we are doing something. We're about to build Fire Station 16. And as I said, we are delivering on projects because many of the projects that we're moving forward have been on the books and the money has been there, but we didn't do the work. Right down to Miss Bussey and the center that we promised the Ellenwood community for such a long time. We're getting there. We will get this stuff done. So we have a fire station coming over there. How does the county support seniors in assisted living or who are without transportation exercise their voting rights? Are there voting sites in senior living facilities? There are not. We do not have any voting sites in senior facilities, but DeKalb County does partner, and because this is an election year, you all will see that DeKalb County, we discussed it actually on Tuesday. We will be holding our own Get Out to Vote events. And we do provide transportation to our seniors at all of our senior living facilities to get the souls to the polls. So with that being said, all you have to do is reach out and we will schedule a time for someone to come and pick you up and we will take you to vote. And we will begin actively advertising those phone numbers for our future elections. Because if you want to vote, we believe in democracy. We want everyone to exercise that right. What about, and that's a good thing, what about the abandoned condo/townhomes adjacent to Young Road at Covington Highway next to the Texaco gas station? Research tunnels to towers for veterans and first responders. Condo townhomes adjacent to Young Road at Covington Highway.
That's the development that started many, many years ago.
Speak to them. Tell them. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, that development, the owner went bankrupt years ago, and they started the development. And
I know exactly what you're talking about. I just had to sit here and think. And to be honest, is that considered DeKalb, or is that the city of Stonecrest, actually? That's exactly what I thought, because they would be on my radar. But that is the city of Stonecrest, and I will allow you to take it up with them, because now let me tell you what needs to happen there. Code compliance needs to cite them, because I've noticed for years it's just sat vacant, but now the roof is beginning to cave in. Okay. So let me pull, and I don't want to create a situation where you have to call us back, because it is time to move that into an in-rim process if it hasn't started already. Well, enough has been said. Ms. Valerie Conque has told me to queue up the pink demolishing vehicle we have. And let me say, we take this very serious. We have demolished so many properties this year, the media no longer shows up because we had 8 in a row. And let me say that, believe me, these places are on our radar, and we are now getting them out of the in-rim process, because it's a process, and it's taken too long, because in some instances we've had properties for 10 years that have been blighted.
Because it has 10 acres with it, and DeKalb County would benefit from it.
So enough said. Watch me work. Give me 90 days to do everything I can. Now, when people say, well, she's over there being mean and trying to take our property, well, I'm not trying to do that, but I am trying to get things done. And I agree with you on that location, so it will go to the top of my list, because Covington Highway, and that is a valuable location. Okay, how can we get the same services in South DeKalb, i.e. road, potholes, issues, lights, sidewalk? Let me say, I would like for you, Director Kingsbury, if you can, to speak to how we determine sidewalks, because sidewalks is just like us resurfacing roads. It's a process. We did not have the money until we began SPLOST, and we had to set priorities. So we dealt with increasing sidewalks along routes for schools, because we want to create more walkable communities first. So there is a method to the madness. And I'll allow Director Kingsbury and also Director Allen to respond to that question.
Very briefly, we have a process that rates the gaps in the sidewalk system by proximity to the schools, the little cattle trails you see on the side of the road, proximity to the parks, transit stations. I say that we have a list of about 200 gaps in the county. The value to put new sidewalks in, we can't repair sidewalks with SPLOST, but we can build new ones, is north of $100 million. But in the near future, we're going to build 2+ miles of sidewalks on Glenwood from Covington to Candler. It's completion of phase 2 of a project that was built from City of Atlanta to Candler. That's going to be about a $6 million project. We've got a project going to bid at Snapfinger Road, again, about a $2 million project. So we're chipping away where we can for the streets, arterials with the highest need based on the number of pedestrians and accidents and speed, but it's expensive, just like road resurfacing. So we can't do all of them, but we're doing the worst first, like Peggy says, on the roads.
And in addition to what Mr. Kingsbury is doing with the new sidewalks, in roads and drainage, what we're doing is, we'll ask for money from anybody. And when it comes to sidewalks, we're actually in the process of seeking a grant from the Georgia Department of Transportation for sidewalk repair in excess of $3 million just this year. So for sidewalks that's been damaged, needs to be repaired, that's what we're doing. And we're seeking additional funding, and that grant is just an application away. And that application is due in 2 weeks, and we have a number of sidewalk repairs that are needed, and they're all going on that list.
And that transition is very well, Director Allen, to has the funding cuts from DC affected the county? And at this time, we say no. but DeKalb County continues to seek grants, and for certain areas, like we had received a grant for charging stations for vehicles, and those funds have not come down even though we've received the award. So we monitor very carefully and closely because honestly, one executive order can change everything, and you never know when that executive order may come. And increasingly, people look to government to do for them what they can't do for themselves. So more and more now, I find myself saying no to things that I would like to say yes to, because we have to be mindful of what we have, because we don't know when that may change. How can we get the same? Okay, that was already. When will the E911 system be in effect? Being put on hold for 911 is absurd. The E911 system is in place. However, certain portions of the AI is still under development. Is there anything else to be added to that, COO Williams?
Now, Madam CEO, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, last year we began the implementation, and we completed the implementation several months ago of the new system. But there are still things that need to be resolved. As a matter of fact, we had conversation earlier today regarding the feature where it texts you back, and that has caused some consternation among residents. So we're revisiting how to deploy that. It's not that it doesn't make sense, it's just that people were not necessarily aware that that's how that feature works. So what we're going to do with a number of the features with our 911 system is ensure that we implement an education campaign so that people clearly understand not only when to call, but what to expect when they call. And then we will be reinitiating some of those types of features.
And this one should move quickly. This is actually a comment card from Miss Brenda Pace, and she wanted to make a statement of gratitude and express her thanks to me as well as our staff for finally being the ones to take DeKalb to the next level through the actions that we're beginning to take. And thank you for that. Now, this is a card that's dear to my heart. Is there a plan to clean up and help the Brandon Hills condos? Okay, let me say yes. Brandon Hills, Walden Pond, and Whitehall Forest will not exist when I leave, because it's not okay for us to allow people to live in subpar conditions. And honestly, when I went there the first time, I took photos and I went home to tell my husband, and this is when I was running for office in 2018, and that within a matter of weeks, I saw it on the news. And let me say yes to that we are dealing with them in a legal way, because also these are locations that owe DeKalb County major water revenue, because those are properties that have communal meters. And it's a slippery slope, because for 10 years we didn't disconnect water. So when I came into office, I came under a lot of criticism, because when I saw the list and understood that, the amount of outstanding water revenue, I said, hey, we have to stop this. At some point, people have to begin paying, because I venture to say that everyone in this auditorium is in good standing. I'm not trying to be difficult, but water is a commodity, and it requires us making payment. So with that being said, we are dealing with Brandon Hills, Walden Pond, and Whitehall Forest in a legal way, and we'll just put a pin in that. There is more to come. What about the abandoned condo/townhomes adjacent to Young Road in Covington? Oh, we already talked about, believe it or not, we made it through every card. So let me say thank you all for coming out. Please register for our newsletter if you're not receiving it. And thank you all, because we don't do this alone. Thank you to everyone that's on my left side for walking this journey with us on behalf of the people. And I promise you, in 4 years, we are going to be better together, and we will leave DeKalb County better.